All right, this was a great shoot. This was a great shoot. This was like one of those moments in my career that I would say I lived for. This is those moments where I love doing what I do because I love the creative process. I love music. I love photography. And to have 2 days to spend with a band while they're recording an album is the best thing ever. So this album was the soundtrack for the movie Backbeat. The movie Backbeat was a movie that came out and it was about the early days of the Beatles. It was about like when Stu Sutcliffe was in the band and I think it was about the Hamburg days when they were in Germany and performing really young, when they were really, really young, starting out as the Beatles. But this session was done on March 26th, 1993 here in Los Angeles. I forget the recording studio it was at, but we spent 2 days shooting this studio. It was for Virgin Records. Virgin called me up and said, can you go down and document these 2 days while the band records the soundtrack? And the producer, legendary Don was so nice to me and just said, come on in. And he just like gave me carte blanche to go wherever I wanted to go as long as I was quiet and kind of stayed out of the way. But the band, this was like 2 days with this band. Okay, the band was Greg Dooley from the Afghan Wigs, Don Fleming from Gumball, Mike Mills from REM, Dave Grohl from a band called Nirvana, and Thurston Moore from Sonic Youth. And we spent 2 days in the recording studio. While they recorded, I just documented great shots of them doing vocals, writing songs. Oh, here's a great shot of Don, really great shot of Don. And Mike Mills, just totally, I have some great shot of Dave Grohl sitting at the drums, just thinking about what he's gonna play. Such a great day. So we spent 2 days. Here's the funny part about all this. The great moments for me was that what Don would do he would take a song like Twist and Shout or Money, a Beatles song, and we'd sit in a room and he would play the song like on a CD player, like an old version of the Beatles playing this song. And then the guys would just sit there and listen to this song and kind of just you could tell them like learning their parts as they listened. Maybe they listened to it a couple times. But then Don would take them and put them in the recording studio. They'd all sit at their instruments, and it was just to watch. Like, I love this, Thurston Moore figuring out his parts, Greg Dooley getting ready to record. So what would happen is they would fiddle around on their instruments for a few minutes, and Don would go in the room and just say, and action, and go. And these guys would crank out maybe 2 to 3 takes at the most of each song. But it was like so punk rock. It made the Beatles sound like they were punk rock, basically. But if you got to get the soundtrack, it's a brilliant fucking soundtrack. I think even Dave Pirner from Soul Asylum sang a song or two. But it was like such a great day. Henry Rollins came by the second day to hang out and just to have some fun. But to watch these guys create the music, to listen to a song, to take that process and then go into the studio and like nail it time after time, song after song. And Don was there with his engineers and they were just capturing it and it sounded great. The playbacks were amazing. But for me, it was like 2 days of just super, super fun and watching the creative process, watching musicians do what they do. And like I said, this first photo I showed actually, my favorite photo was I convinced them all to step outside and get this great group shot of them to remember this great recording session by. I'm still mad to this day that I didn't get Don Was in here. I don't know why I didn't, but I should have had Don in here. And what was great too was that afterwards, I think they did one music video for one of the songs as a single for the soundtrack and everything. And the video was shot in New York City and I was lucky enough to be there. So they hired me to be the set photographer and do a session with the band there as well. So I ended up shooting them again, but it was a great time. It was a great shoot, just again, I'm gonna say it again. When you get to watch the creative process and watch musicians, especially for me, creating music, it's amazing. Like there's a language there that I don't understand, but there's a language between musicians that is truly amazing. And I was able to capture it, document it for the day. Really, 2 amazing days in a recording studio, probably the 2 best.